Finally, the last and most spectacular Bible critter. Like the unicorn and the behemoth, it may not be alive today. In fact, quite frankly, I hope it's not alive today. But during the Bible times, oh yes, it was alive, and it was terrifying. I'm doing these broadcasts to give a little different way for parents and families to spend a little time in the Bible. We're supposed to be staying away from each other physically, so during this time of social separation, this gives a chance to maybe sit down as a family and read the Bible passage and talk about this a little bit. And you can help by sharing this. There may be some people who don't have these types of tools. If you think it's worthwhile, share it, and they can go back and watch the previous 4. But this 5th and last one, it's really about the most incredible creature there is in the Bible. And before I get to the centerpiece of the Bible's description about what is known as Leviathan, I'm going to fill you in on a couple other verses about this terrible creature. Isaiah 27 verse 1 says, "The Leviathan is a piercing, crooked serpent, the dragon that lives in the sea." Psalm 104:26 says, "Leviathan plays among the ships of the sea." So it's one that goes out in the ocean and in the Mediterranean Sea. Revelation chapter 20, Leviathan, this big terrible lizard, this big terrible serpent, is used as a way to try to describe Satan. In Job chapter 41, which is really the centerpiece of the Bible's description of Leviathan, God is proving his point to Job and his buddies that he is God and that they should recognize his power and majesty through the creation. Last time I talked about the behemoth, which is in Job chapter 40. But now we're in Job chapter 41, where an entire chapter is given to God's incredible Leviathan. Listen to some of the description. I'm not doing it exactly like is in the Bible. I'm using some different terminology, but I'd like you to just kind of listen to this, and you can go back and read Job chapter 41 and realize that this is being described as an actual creature. He can't be caught by fishhook or with ropes. Leviathan will remain untamed. He can't be taken with harpoons or fishing spears, and any hope of subduing him is false. The sight of one is overpowering. And they're strong and graceful, and they have impenetrable, double-coated armor. They have a mouth that's ringed with fearsome teeth and has back rows of shields that are so tightly sealed that no air can pass between. And they're joined so they cannot be parted. And here's where it really gets kind of crazy. Because their snorting throws out flashes of light. And their eyes are like the rays of the dawn, like rays of the sun. Flames stream from their mouths. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from the nostrils as from the boiling pot over burning reeds. It's quite a description. Its breath sets coals ablaze. Sounds kind of like a dragon, doesn't it? Flames dart from his mouth. Strength is in its neck, and dismay goes before it. Firm flesh is under the armor, and the chest is hard as a rock, like the lower millstone of a grinding floor. All are terrified and retreat from its thrashing. Sword, spear, javelin, and dart all have no effect. Against the Leviathan, iron is like straw, bronze is like rotten wood. Arrows and sling stones hit it like chaff. A club used against the Leviathan is like chaff, and the Leviathan laughs at the rattling of lances. The undersides are like jagged potsherds, and we don't recognize some of the description. That's broken pottery, and it talks about how dragging through the mud it leaves a trail like a threshing sledge, which of course makes no sense to those of us who have modern technology. But it does remind us that we're talking about an actual description of an actual creature, because it describes it as something they would understand and know. It says that it churns and boils the depths of the sea like a cauldron, like a pot of burning oil and ointment. and it leaves a glistening wake on the water, so that one might think that the deep had white hair. The phosphorescence of the wake is even a part of this description. And it goes on to say finally, nothing on earth is its equal. Now, I know for you, it probably brought to mind things like Smaug from The Hobbit, or the Loch Ness Monster, or dragons, or some other type of science fiction. But in 1977, fishermen off the coast of Japan pulled up what looks to be a plesiosaur. And you can look that up. You can actually see pictures of that creature that's brought up in the nets. And it brings up the question, what really lurks in the depths? I've never seen a Leviathan. I bet you haven't either. But did you know that every year there are 2,000, normally right around 2,000 sea creatures added to the registry of creatures in the ocean every year? Who knows what's down there in the depths? We've only scratched the surface. But to be honest, this description stretches our ability to believe. The Leviathan, as described by God, and as was included in the Bible, and as was written for people who would understand and know what was being written, and they would recognize the decision and the description, this Leviathan was written as an animal that existed. So, why? Why would God put this in the Bible? Even if it were one that were alive then, it would be extinct. Why would it be in the Bible? God was explaining to Job and his friends using animals that they knew, like the behemoth, like the Leviathan, and it describes all sorts of other creatures in different places that are very familiar creatures. God was explaining to Job and his friends that as amazing as his creation is, God is even greater. He made those critters, and he is God. So when you get frustrated that you don't understand the why, which is what the book of Job is all about, why, God sometimes says, trust me. I'm God. You're not. And quite frankly, that's hard for some of us. But if God can create Leviathan and you, think about it, he can probably handle whatever comes along. So I hope you've enjoyed the stroll through the unicorns and a talking donkey and the behemoth and the Leviathan. Some of God's amazing critters in the Bible. God bless.